I never imagined that one ordinary family dinner would completely shatter everything I thought I knew about loyalty, love, blood ties, and the true meaning of family. For as long as I could remember, I lived by one unbreakable rule. Family comes first, no matter what the cost. That belief had been drilled into me since childhood, reinforced by my father's quiet strength and my mother's gentle reminders. But when Dad passed away suddenly from a massive heart attack 15 years ago, everything changed. While the rest of the family collapsed under waves of grief, crying for weeks, barely able to get out of bed, I forced myself to stay strong. I buried my own pain deep inside and channeled it into relentless work. I built my software company from absolute nothing, starting in a cramped, poorly lit rented apartment with only a second-hand laptop, a cheap desk from a garage sale, and sheer willpower. There were countless nights I worked until dawn, 16, sometimes 18 hours a day coding, pitching to clients, debugging software at 3 a.m., and learning business strategies from free online tutorials. I missed holidays, birthdays, and every vacation I ever planned. Close friendships slowly faded away because I was always too busy. Romantic relationships ended one after another. I simply couldn't give anyone the time and attention they deserved. But I wasn't doing it for luxury cars, designer clothes, or exotic trips. I was chasing something far more important: security and stability for the people I loved most: my mother, my brother Ethan, my sister Rachel, and the extended family that had always been there for us growing up. Over the years, I quietly became the silent pillar everyone leaned on. My younger brother Ethan had struggled since his teenage years. He bounced from one dead-end job to another, short-lived sales positions where he couldn't meet targets, delivery gigs he quit after the first difficult week, failed startup attempts that burned through whatever little savings he had, and even a brief stint as a rideshare driver that ended in a minor accident. Every time rent day approached and his account was empty, I transferred the money quietly. No lectures, no guilt trips, no questions asked. Just a simple bank notification letting him know the payment cleared. My sister Rachel's world fell apart. My sister Rachel's world fell apart after her bitter divorce. Her ex left her with massive credit card debt, mounting legal fees, emotional scars, and 2 young children to raise alone. I stepped in immediately, covering her monthly payments so she wouldn't lose the apartment or her children's sense of stability. I even helped with groceries and school supplies during the hardest months. My mother, who had shared 43 beautiful but ordinary years with my father in that same modest 2-story house filled with memories, couldn't bear the thought of moving. So I took full responsibility for the mortgage, property taxes, regular repairs, roof maintenance, and even hired a gardener to keep the yard looking the way Dad always liked it. Aunt Linda, who had been battling serious medical issues for years, surgeries, medications, and endless hospital visits, knew she could call me anytime the bills became overwhelming. I never hesitated. Every single month, thousands upon thousands of dollars flowed silently out of my accounts into theirs. I never kept a detailed ledger. I never sent reminders or statements. I never once asked for a single word of thanks or acknowledgement. In my heart, this was simply what family did. We protected each other. We sacrificed. Love wasn't supposed to be transactional or kept score. Yet, looking back now with clearer eyes, maybe a small unspoken part of me had quietly hoped for some genuine appreciation. A heartfelt thank you. A moment where someone acknowledged the late nights and sacrifices. But years passed and that appreciation never came. The silence around my efforts grew heavier. Still, I pushed those feelings down. They're family, I repeatedly told myself. That's enough. It has to be. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my sister Rachel called. Her voice sounded unusually tense and clipped. "Mom wants everyone over for Sunday dinner," she said quickly. I didn't think much of it at the time. Family gatherings had always been routine, sometimes chaotic, often warm. I stopped by the bakery on the way and picked up a couple of desserts, expecting laughter, old childhood stories, and Mom's famous homemade apple pie with vanilla ice cream. The moment I stepped through the front door, the atmosphere felt completely wrong. The usual warmth was gone. Everyone was already seated stiffly around the old oak dining table that had been in our family for decades. Mom at the head, Ethan right beside her, Rachel directly across from him, Aunt Linda in the corner chair looking uncomfortable, and even Ethan's wife Melissa, who rarely attended these dinners. No one smiled. No one stood up to greet me with a hug. The silence was thick, heavy, and suffocating. As soon as I sat down, Mom cleared her throat loudly. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped like a stone. Rachel immediately jumped in, her arms folded tightly across her chest in clear defensiveness. "We all think you've changed." Ethan nodded along, adding bitterly that I now acted superior, just because I had money. Melissa leaned forward aggressively and accused me of controlling the entire family through my financial support, like some kind of cold, calculating puppet master pulling strings. I actually laughed out loud in disbelief, thinking this had to be some bizarre, poorly timed joke. But no one joined me. Their faces remained stone-cold serious, eyes filled with resentment. I stared at them, my mind reeling. Control you? I've never asked for anything in return. Not once. Not repayment, not obedience, not even basic gratitude. Nothing. Mom sighed deeply, as if she carried the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. "None of us like feeling indebted, son. It makes us feel small and powerless." I tried my best to stay calm and reasonable. "Then pay me back," I said quietly, looking each of them in the eye. The room fell into a dead, uncomfortable silence. Rachel's eyes widened in shock. She admitted, almost in a whisper, that they couldn't possibly afford to repay everything I had given over the years. I simply replied, "Exactly. That's why I never asked for it." But it turned out they had been talking behind my back for months. Private conversations, group chats, and secret meetings where they had slowly twisted my quiet, unconditional support into something ugly and manipulative. In their minds, I was using money to feel powerful, to keep them dependent and under my thumb. The accusations cut deeper than any knife ever could. These were the same people I had sacrificed my youth, my health, and my peace for over 15 long years. Then Mom delivered what felt like the heaviest blow of all. "Maybe you shouldn't come for Thanksgiving this year. The family needs some space to heal." Rachel nodded firmly in agreement and added, "You actually owe everyone an apology for how you've made us feel. An apology. For helping them. For loving them the only way I knew how." Ethan snapped that my defensive reaction only proved their point. I stood up slowly from the table, my legs feeling heavy. No one stopped me. No one defended me. No one said it was all a misunderstanding. As I reached the front door, Mom said softly, almost sadly, "When you're ready to apologize, the door will be open again." I drove home in complete silence. No screaming, no tears, no angry calls. Just a deep, numb quiet that settled over me like a heavy blanket. That night I sat alone in my living room for hours, replaying every single year of support, every late-night transfer, every quiet sacrifice. The next morning, with a surprisingly steady hand, I made the necessary calls. I canceled every automatic payment. Ethan's rent assistance, Rachel's credit card coverage, Mom's mortgage, Aunt Linda's medical support. Everything ended with a few calm, professional conversations with the bank. No dramatic speeches. No warnings. No threats. Just silence. The fallout arrived faster than I expected. Ethan called first, his voice confused and furious. "The bank says the payment didn't go through. What the hell is going on?" I explained calmly that I was simply giving him the independence he and the others clearly wanted. He was left speechless. Rachel called next, panicking because her card had been declined at the grocery store in front of her kids. She accused me of abandoning the family, calling me selfish and heartless, the same woman who had accepted my help without question for years. Mom waited nearly 2 weeks. When she finally called, her voice trembled as she told me the mortgage company had reached out with warnings. I reminded her gently that, according to the family, I was the one who owed everyone an apology. Thanksgiving came and went. I spent it completely alone for the first time in my adult life. I ordered Chinese takeout, watched old classic movies from my childhood, and sat in peaceful silence. Surprisingly, I felt lighter than I had in years. The constant, invisible pressure I hadn't even fully realized I was carrying finally lifted. Meanwhile, reality hit my family like a freight train. Rachel was forced to sell her expensive SUV and ruthlessly cut back on all unnecessary spending. Ethan finally swallowed his pride and accepted a stable full-time job after years of excuses and half-hearted attempts. Melissa returned to work as well. Mom began renting out 2 spare rooms in the family house to cover expenses. They all discovered solutions and inner strength they never knew they had once the safety net disappeared. On Christmas Eve, as I sat alone again reflecting on everything, there was a hesitant knock at my door. I opened it to find Mom standing there, looking smaller and older than I remembered. Behind her stood Rachel and Ethan. They weren't carrying presents. There were no forced smiles. They simply looked exhausted, humbled, and deeply regretful. Mom spoke first, her voice breaking with emotion. "We were wrong." Rachel started crying immediately, tears streaming down her face. She admitted they had completely twisted my help into something it never was, convincing themselves that needing support meant I looked down on them. Ethan stared at the floor, unable to meet my eyes, and quietly confessed that I had never once treated them as inferior. Mom reached out and squeezed my hand tightly, her own eyes filled with tears. "You loved us, and we punished you for it," she asked, voice barely above a whisper, if I could ever forgive them. I stayed quiet for a long moment, searching my heart. Forgiveness came more easily than I expected, but trust? Rebuilding trust would take real time, effort, and consistent actions. Eventually, I smiled softly and stepped aside. "Come inside. Things are profoundly different now." I never resumed any of the automatic payments. That chapter of my life is closed forever. Instead, I've helped them create realistic budgets, find better and more stable jobs, and learn genuine financial responsibility. Slowly but surely, they are learning to stand firmly on their own feet. Our relationships have gradually become healthier and more authentic than they ever were before, because money is no longer the invisible chain that bound and strained us. I learned a painful but necessary lesson through all of this. Love should never feel like an obligation, and generosity should never become a prison. Sometimes the people who accuse you of controlling them are simply terrified of losing the safety net you freely provided. And sometimes the greatest act of love isn't continuing to rescue someone over and over again. It's finding the courage to step back and let them finally learn how to rescue themselves.